The clock strikes 9:15 p.m. on a humid Maryland evening in 2008. Storm clouds gather overhead as 34-year-old Jessica Harper steps out of her silver Honda Civic into an unfamiliar alleyway. The streetlights cast long, dancing shadows across the cracked pavement. A gust of wind rattles the chain-link fence nearby, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. Jessica pulls her light cardigan closer to her body and checks her phone one last time. She's running late for dinner with her best friend Sarah, but she's almost there now. The last person to see Jessica alive watches from across the street as she disappears between two brick buildings. Her auburn hair catches the flickering light from a broken street lamp before vanishing into the darkness. In that moment, Jessica Harper becomes another name on a missing persons report that will haunt a community for over a decade. Her car sits abandoned in the parking lot, engine still warm, driver's side window cracked open just enough for a hand to slip through. The keys dangle from the ignition. Her purse remains untouched on the passenger seat, credit cards and cash still inside. The only sign of struggle, a small scuff mark on the pavement, and a broken earring lying near the driver's door. What happened to Jessica Harper in those crucial minutes would remain a mystery that would consume investigators, devastate a family, and terrorize a community. Little did anyone know that the answer lay hidden in plain sight, walking among them for years. Before we dive deeper into this chilling cold case that shocked Maryland, make sure you're subscribed to our channel for more real-life mysteries that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The life she left behind. Jessica Harper wasn't just another statistic. She was the kind of person who remembered your birthday, who brought homemade cookies to office meetings, who stopped to help strangers change flat tires on busy highways. At 34, she had built a life that seemed perfectly ordinary and beautifully complete. Her corner office at Premier Design Solutions overlooked the Chesapeake Bay, where she would often stand during her lunch breaks, sketching ideas for her next project. Jessica had a gift for seeing potential where others saw problems. She could walk into a cramped, outdated room and envision exactly how to transform it into something magnificent. Her clients didn't just hire her, they trusted her with their dreams. But Jessica's real masterpiece was the relationship she built. Every Sunday she had dinner with her mother Carol at the same family restaurant where they'd been going since Jessica was 12. Every Tuesday, she called her older brother Mark, no matter how busy her schedule got. Every Friday night, she met her group of college friends at their favorite wine bar, where they'd solved the world's problems over shared appetizers and too much laughter. The morning of her disappearance started like any other. Jessica woke up at 6:30 a.m. in her cozy apartment, just 10 minutes from her childhood home. She made her usual breakfast, 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast, and black coffee, while watching the morning news. Her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, waves at her through the kitchen window as Jessica waters the small herb garden on her fire escape. At work, she spends the morning putting finishing touches on a presentation for the Morrison family's kitchen renovation. Her assistant notes that Jessica seems excited about something, humming while she works. Around noon, she calls her mother. She sounded happy, Carol Harper remembers, her voice barely above a whisper. She said she had something to tell me, something good. She wanted to wait until Sunday dinner to share it. The world will never know what Jessica wanted to share that Sunday. At 5:30 p.m., Jessica locks her office and heads home. She changes into dark jeans, a cream-colored blouse, and her favorite black flats, the ones with the small bow detail that she bought during a girls' trip to Boston. She grabs her brown leather purse, the one her brother gave her for her last birthday, and heads out to meet Sarah. The drive to Romano's restaurant should take 15 minutes. Jessica knows the route by heart. She's been going there since high school, but tonight, something goes wrong. Tonight Jessica takes a detour that will cost her everything. The last text message. At 7:47 p.m., Jessica sends what will become the most analyzed text message in Maryland police history. Running a few min late, taking shortcut through Industrial District. See you soon. Sarah Martinez stares at her phone screen in Romano's restaurant, watching other diners enjoy their evening while she waits. 7:30 becomes 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock becomes 8:30. Sarah tries calling, straight to voicemail. She tries texting, no response. By 9:00 p.m., Sarah's worry transforms into panic. This isn't like Jessica. Jessica Harper has never been more than 10 minutes late for anything in her life. Sarah calls Carol. Maybe she got caught up at work, Carol suggests, but her voice carries an edge of concern. You know how she gets when she's focused on a project. But Jessica's office is dark. Her car isn't in the company parking lot. And when Mark drives by her apartment, all the lights are off. At 9:15 p.m., the exact moment captured by the parking lot security camera, Jessica's Honda Civic sits empty, under a flickering streetlight in the industrial district. The engine is still running. The radio plays softly, some pop song she probably hummed along to just minutes before. Officer Daniel Rodriguez is the first responder on the scene. He's been with the Maryland Police Department for 8 years, but something about this abandoned car makes his stomach clench. The driver's door is slightly ajar. Jessica's coffee mug from that morning sits in the cup holder, still half full. Her cell phone lies on the floor of the driver's side, the screen cracked as if it had been dropped. The scene felt wrong immediately, Rodriguez later testifies. Everything was too neat, too staged, like someone wanted us to find the car but not the person. Within an hour, the parking lot transforms into a crime scene. Yellow tape flutters in the evening breeze as investigators photograph every inch of the vehicle. They dust for fingerprints, test for DNA, search for any trace of what happened to Jessica Harper. The evidence tells a story, but it's written in a language they can't yet read. Detective Lisa Wong arrives at 10:45 p.m. and immediately begins canvassing the area. The industrial district is mostly empty after business hours, but a few security guards and late shift workers might have seen something, anything. Marcus Johnson, a security guard at the nearby warehouse, remembers seeing a dark sedan parked near the alley around 9:00 p.m. Engine was running, like someone was waiting for something, he tells Detective Wong. Thought it was weird, but I see weird stuff all the time in this job. The sedan was gone by 9:30 p.m. So was Jessica. A community in fear. By midnight, the news spreads through social media like wildfire. Local woman missing. Have you seen Jessica Harper? Her photo, a professional headshot from her company website, showing her bright smile and kind eyes, appears on Facebook pages across Maryland. The Harper family gathers at Carol's house, the same kitchen, where Jessica had eaten thousands of meals, where she'd done homework at the table, where she'd announced she was moving into her own apartment. Now it becomes command central for a search operation. Nobody wanted to organize. Mark Harper hasn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes are bloodshot as he coordinates with volunteers who show up at dawn, ready to search. My sister is the most responsible person I know, he tells the growing crowd in his mother's backyard. If she's not here, it's because someone is stopping her from coming home. The search party divides into groups. They comb through Patapsco Valley State Park, where Jessica liked to hike on weekends. They search the shopping centers she frequented, the coffee shops where she met clients, the neighborhoods where she grew up. Hundreds of people give up their Saturday to look for a woman most of them have never met. But it's what they don't find that terrifies everyone. No witnesses see Jessica after 7:45 p.m. No security cameras capture her face. No cell phone towers ping her location after her phone goes dark. It's as if Jessica Harper simply evaporated from existence. The community's fear is palpable. If someone like Jessica, careful, smart, surrounded by people who loved her, could vanish without a trace, what did that mean for everyone else? Parents start walking their teenagers to their cars. Women travel in groups. Men look over their shoulders in parking lots. Romano's restaurant, where Jessica was supposed to have dinner, becomes an impromptu memorial site. People leave flowers, photos, handwritten notes. Come home safe, Jessica, praying for answers. You are loved. Detective Wong works 18-hour days, following every lead that comes in through the tip line. A gas station attendant thinks he saw Jessica buying coffee at 8:00 p.m. But the timestamp on the receipt doesn't match. A woman calls to report seeing Jessica's car on the highway, but it turns out to be a different silver Honda with a different license plate. Every false lead feels like another door slamming shut. The investigation stalls. 3 months pass. The massive search parties dwindle to a dedicated group of family and close friends who meet every Saturday morning to distribute flyers and search new areas. The media attention fades as newer stories capture headline. The yellow crime scene tape comes down from the industrial district parking lot. But in the Harper house, time stops completely. Carol Harper transforms Jessica's childhood bedroom into a shrine of hope. Missing person flyers cover every surface. Maps of Maryland mark off searched areas in red ink. A telephone sits next to Jessica's bed, waiting for a call that never comes.
I kept thinking she'd walk through that door, Carol says, sitting in the same chair where she waited up for Jessica to come home from high school dates. I'd hear a car in the driveway, and my heart would race, thinking maybe today. The police investigation hits wall after wall. Jessica's bank accounts show no unusual activity. Her credit cards remain unused. Her email and social media accounts go silent. There are no angry ex-boyfriends, no workplace conflicts, no gambling debts or secret enemies. Jessica Harper lived a remarkably clean life, which makes her disappearance even more puzzling. Detective Wong interviews everyone in Jessica's orbit multiple times. Co-workers, clients, college friends, casual acquaintances, the mailman who delivered to her apartment building. Everyone tells the same story. Jessica was happy, stable, and planning for the future. The lack of obvious motive was actually the hardest part. Detective Wong recalls, usually, when someone disappears, there are red flags in their life. Domestic violence, financial troubles, substance abuse, depression. Jessica had none of that. She was just living her life. The case goes cold, not because investigators stop caring, but because they run out of places to look. Years pass. Jessica's friends get married, have children, move to new cities. Her co-workers find new jobs. The world keeps spinning while Jessica remains frozen at age 34, smiling from missing person posters that curl at the edges and fade in the sun. Mark Harper hires 3 different private investigators over the years. Each one promises new leads, fresh eyes, breakthrough techniques. Each one eventually calls to say they've exhausted every possibility. Carol Harper never stops believing. She celebrates Jessica's birthday every year, lighting candles on a cake no one will eat. She leaves Jessica's apartment exactly as it was, paying rent month after month, just in case. She attends every conference on missing persons, every seminar on cold cases, armed with Jessica's photo and an unshakable faith that someone, somewhere, knows what happened to her daughter. The community slowly heals, but the scar remains. Other tragedies occur. House fires, car accidents, natural deaths, and people learn to talk about something other than Jessica Harper. But late at night, when women walk alone to their cars, they remember the woman who vanished from an ordinary evening and never came home. The breakthrough nobody expected. December 15, 10 years, 4 months and 17 days after Jessica Harper disappears, Detective Wong receives a phone call that changes everything. Then genetic genealogy changed everything. By comparing the DNA profile to public genealogy databases, scientists could trace family trees backward through generations, identifying distant relatives who shared genetic markers. It was the same technology that helped adopted children find birth parents and amateur genealogists discover long-lost cousins. Now it was solving murders. The family tree leads investigators to a name that makes Detective Wong's blood run cold. Thomas Wheeler. Thomas Wheeler, 47, lives just 8 miles from where Jessica's car was found. Thomas Wheeler, who worked as an independent handyman in 2008, doing odd jobs throughout Jessica's neighborhood. Thomas Wheeler, who has a criminal record for stalking, breaking and entering, and assault. Thomas Wheeler, who was never on their radar because he'd never been arrested in their jurisdiction. Sometimes the answer is hiding in plain sight, Detective Wong tells her captain as they prepare arrest warrants. We were looking for a stranger, a transient, someone passing through. We never considered that our suspect was living here the whole time. But when Detective Wong digs deeper into Wheeler's background, the puzzle pieces form a picture that makes her sick to her stomach.
In 2008, Wheeler was doing handyman work for Mrs. Patterson, Jessica's neighbor, the same Mrs. Patterson, who waved at Jessica through her kitchen window on the morning she disappeared. Wheeler had been in Jessica's building dozens of times. He'd seen her coming and going, learned her routines, maybe even developed an obsession that her neighbors never noticed. The investigation moves at lightning speed now. Armed with a suspect and renewed purpose, Detective Wong's team recanvasses the industrial district. They find security footage from a nearby business that somehow got missed in the original investigation, grainy black and white images, showing a dark sedan matching Wheeler's vehicle in the area at 9:07 p.m. on the night Jessica vanished. They get warrants for Wheeler's phone records from 2008. The data shows his cell phone pinging towers near Jessica's apartment, near her office, near Romano's restaurant in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. A pattern of surveillance that painted Wheeler as a predator stalking his prey, face to face with evil. The arrest happens at dawn on a cold January morning. Detective Wong and 4 patrol officers surround Wheeler's modest ranch house in a working-class neighborhood where kids ride bikes on the sidewalk and neighbors know each other's names. It's the kind of place where evil isn't supposed to hide. Wheeler answers the door in a bathrobe and slippers, coffee mug in his hand, looking like any other middle-aged man starting his day, but Detective Wong sees something flicker in his eyes when she shows her badge. Not surprise but resignation. "Thomas Wheeler, you're under arrest for the murder of Jessica Harper." The words hang in the air like smoke. Wheeler sets down his coffee mug with hands that don't shake. He doesn't ask who or what are you talking about. He doesn't protest his innocence or demand to call a lawyer. He simply says, "I wondered when you'd figure it out." The confession comes in pieces over 8 hours of interrogation. Wheeler's lawyer advises him to stay silent, but the weight of 10 years seems to crush his resolve. He wants to talk. He needs to talk. "I didn't plan it," Wheeler tells Detective Wong, staring at his hands folded on the metal table. I couldn't stop watching her. She was so perfect, so put together. Everything I wasn't." Wheeler describes months of surveillance, following Jessica to work, to restaurants, to her mother's house for Sunday dinner. He learned her schedule, her habits, her routes. He knew she always took the main highway to Romano's restaurant. He never expected her to take the shortcut through the industrial district that night. "I was just sitting there thinking about her when her car pulled into the parking lot. It was like fate or something, like the universe was giving me a chance." The details Wheeler provides make Detective Wong's skin crawl. He approached Jessica's car pretending to need help, claiming his own vehicle had broken down. Jessica, being Jessica, rolled down her window to listen. She even offered to call a tow truck. That moment of kindness cost her everything. Wheeler forced his way into Jessica's car, threatening her with a knife he carried for work. He made her drive to a remote area 20 miles away, where he'd prepared a shallow grave days earlier. Jessica fought. She struggled. She begged for her life, offering him money, promising she wouldn't tell anyone. But Wheeler had crossed a line he couldn't uncross. She kept saying she had something important to tell her family, Wheeler recalls, his voice empty of emotion. Some good news she wanted to share. "I think about that sometimes, wonder what it was." The trial that gripped a nation. The trial of Thomas Wheeler begins on a rainy Monday morning in September 2019. The courthouse steps are packed with reporters, protesters, and supporters of the Harper family. Jessica's photo appears on T-shirts, posters, and buttons worn by dozens of people who never met her but feel connected to her story. Carol Harper, now 67 years old, walks up those courthouse steps with dignity that breaks hearts. She's aged decades in the 10 years since Jessica disappeared, but her back is straight and her eyes are clear. She wants to look her daughter's killer in the face. The prosecution's case is methodical and devastating. DNA evidence, cell phone records, security footage, and Wheeler's own confession paint a picture of premeditated stalking and murder. Assistant District Attorney Maria Santos, coincidentally sharing a name with Jessica's former colleague, walks the jury through every piece of evidence with careful precision. Jessica Harper was 34 years old when Thomas Wheeler decided her life belonged to him, Santos tells the jury during opening statements. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a colleague. She had dreams, plans, people who loved her. Thomas Wheeler stole all of that in a single night of violence. The defense tries to argue that Wheeler's mental health issues diminish his culpability, that his confession was coerced, that the DNA evidence was contaminated. But the facts are stubborn things, and the facts all point to guilt. The most powerful testimony comes from Jessica's family and friends. Mark Harper describes the last phone call he had with his sister, how she mentioned being excited about something at work. Sarah Martinez recalls waiting at Romano's restaurant, checking her phone every few minutes, never imagining she was witnessing the first moments of a decade-long nightmare. Carol Harper takes the stand on a Thursday afternoon that feels heavy, with grief and justice in equal measure. She speaks directly to the jury about the daughter she lost, the birthdays uncelebrated, the grandchildren Jessica will never have. My daughter was the kind of person who stopped to help strangers, Carol says, tears streaming down her face. Her kindness was her strength. Thomas Wheeler turned that strength into her vulnerability. He took advantage of the very best part of who she was. Wheeler sits at the defendant's table, staring at his hands throughout most of the testimony. When Carol Harper speaks, he looks up once, makes eye contact with the woman whose life he destroyed, then quickly looks away. Justice at last. The jury deliberates for less than 4 hours. When they return to the courtroom, the tension is electric. Jessica's friends and family pack the gallery, holding hands, holding breath, holding on to hope for justice. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. The words echo through the courtroom like thunder. Carol Harper collapses into Mark's arms. 10 years of anguish and uncertainty, finally resolved. Strangers in the gallery embrace each other, tears flowing freely. Wheeler shows no emotion as the verdict is read. Even when Judge Patricia Williams sentences him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, his face remains blank. The man who stole Jessica Harper's future displays no remorse for his actions, no acknowledgement of the pain he's caused. Thomas Wheeler, you have been found guilty of one of the most heinous crimes this court has seen, Judge Williams says before pronouncing sentence. You stalked an innocent woman, terrorized her in her final moments, and robbed her family of 10 years of answers. This sentence ensures you will never have the opportunity to hurt another person. As Wheeler is led away in shackles, Carol Harper speaks to the gathered reporters on the courthouse steps. Her voice is strong, her message clear. Jessica was more than a victim, she says, clutching the photo of her daughter. She was a light in this world, and that light continues to shine through everyone who loved her, everyone who searched for her, everyone who refused to let her be forgotten. Thomas Wheeler took her life, but he couldn't take her impact on the world. The ripple effect of resolution. The Jessica Harper case becomes a turning point for cold case investigations across Maryland. The success of genetic genealogy in solving her murder opens doors for hundreds of other families, still waiting for answers. Detective Wong, now promoted to lieutenant, spearheads a new cold case unit specifically designed to apply modern technology to old evidence. Jessica's case taught us that we should never give up, Lieutenant Wong explains at a conference on cold case investigations. Technology changes, databases grow, new witnesses come forward. What seems impossible today might be solvable tomorrow. The industrial district where Jessica's car was found is transformed into a small memorial park. A bench sits under a flowering dogwood tree, with a plaque that reads, "In memory of Jessica Harper and all those who wait to come home. May their stories never be forgotten." Carol Harper visits the memorial every month, bringing fresh flowers and spending quiet moments in the place where her daughter's car was found. She started a foundation that provides resources for families of missing persons, offering the kind of support she wished she'd had during those dark years of waiting. Losing Jessica broke my heart, Carol says, sitting on the memorial bench on a sunny afternoon in 2020. But the way this community came together, the way strangers became family, the way everyone refused to let her disappear, that healed something in me I didn't even know was broken. Mark Harper has become an advocate for victims' rights, working with lawmakers to improve how missing person cases are handled. He speaks at police academies, training new officers to recognize the signs that distinguish a voluntary disappearance from something more sinister. The friends who searched for Jessica every Saturday morning still gather monthly, but now they celebrate her life instead of mourning her absence. They share stories, look through photo albums, and toast the memory of a woman who brought out the best in everyone she met. The technology that changed everything, the science behind Jessica's case, genetic genealogy, continues to revolutionize criminal justice. The same databases that help people discover their ethnic heritage and connect with distant relatives are now solving murders, identifying victims, and bringing closure to families who thought they'd never have answers. Dr. Sarah Chen, the geneticist, whose work identified Thomas Wheeler, explains the breakthrough in simple terms. We're not just looking at the DNA from the crime scene anymore. We're looking at the family tree that DNA represents. Every person shares genetic markers with their relatives, and those relationships create patterns we can follow backward through generations. The process isn't quick or easy. Building family trees from DNA requires painstaking research, cross-referencing genealogical records, and eliminating false matches. But when it works, the results are revolutionary. In the 2 years following Jessica's case, genetic genealogy helped solve 43 cold cases in Maryland alone. Families who had given up hope received phone calls from detectives with news they never expected to hear. Killers who thought they'd gotten away with murder find police officers at their doors decades after their crimes. The technology also raises ethical questions about privacy and consent. The DNA databases used to solve these crimes are built from people who voluntarily submitted samples to learn about their ancestry, not to help solve criminal cases. Some worry about the implications of using personal genetic information for law enforcement purposes. But for families like the Harpers, those concerns are overshadowed by gratitude for answers they thought would never come. Lessons from the darkness. The Jessica Harper case reveals uncomfortable truths about how predators operate in plain sight. Thomas Wheeler wasn't a stranger lurking in shadows. He was a local handyman, someone who might have seemed helpful and trustworthy to his victims. He used his legitimate work as cover for surveillance, learning his victims' routines while appearing to be just another member of the community. The case also highlights the importance of trusting instincts. Several of Jessica's friends mentioned that she'd seemed cautious or uneasy in the weeks before her disappearance. She'd started locking doors she'd previously left open, checking over her shoulder more frequently, varying her routine slightly. On some level, Jessica may have sensed she was being watched, but like many women, she dismissed these feelings as paranoia. The Jessica Harper case has been featured in training programs for law enforcement, teaching officers to recognize the patterns of predatory behavior and the importance of taking stalking reports seriously. Wheeler's months of surveillance might have been detected and stopped if Jessica had known to report the strange feelings she was experiencing. While Jessica's murder is solved, questions remain. Wheeler confessed to killing Jessica, but has never revealed the location of her remains. Despite extensive searches of the area he described, her body has never been found. This denial of closure adds another layer of cruelty to his crimes. We know how Jessica died, and we know who killed her, Mark Harper says, but we still can't bring her home. We can't lay her to rest properly. Wheeler has one last piece of power over our family, and he's choosing to keep it. Investigators continue to interview Wheeler periodically, hoping he'll eventually reveal where Jessica is buried. But as the years pass, that hope grows dimmer. Wheeler has shown no remorse for his crimes, and no inclination to provide the Harper family with final closure. The case also raises questions about other potential victims. Wheeler's confession focused solely on Jessica, but investigators wonder if his pattern of stalking and violence might have claimed other lives. They've reopened several missing person cases from the years when Wheeler was active, looking for connections that might have been missed. So far, no additional victims have been identified, but the investigation continues. Wheeler's methodical approach to Jessica's murder suggests experience that might have come from previous crimes. A legacy of light. Today, 5 years after Thomas Wheeler's conviction, Jessica Harper's influence continues to ripple outward. The Premier Design Solutions office displays a permanent memorial to Jessica, not a sad shrine, but a celebration of her creative vision. The wine bar where Jessica met her college friends every Friday night has renamed their back corner table Jessica's Table. A small plaque explains that it's reserved for people celebrating good news, sharing important conversations, or simply needing a place to connect with friends. The tradition continues Jessica's legacy of bringing people together. Romano's Restaurant, where Jessica was supposed to have dinner that final night, holds an annual fundraiser for the Jessica Harper Foundation. The event brings together hundreds of people who never met Jessica, but feel connected to her story. Families of other missing persons attend, finding support and community in their shared experience of loss and hope. The most powerful memorial to Jessica might be the lives that have been changed by her case. Detective Wong credits Jessica's investigation with teaching her the importance of never giving up on victims or their families. The genetic genealogist who identified Wheeler has used similar techniques to solve dozens of other cold cases. The volunteers who searched for Jessica have applied their organizational skills to other missing person cases, creating a network of citizen advocates across Maryland. Jessica's death was a tragedy that should never have happened, Carol Harper reflects. But the way people responded to her disappearance, the love, the dedication, the refusal to let her be forgotten, that's shown me the very best of humanity. Evil exists in this world, but so does an overwhelming amount of good. The ripple continues. As this story ends, others begin. The Jessica Harper case has inspired changes in how missing person investigations are conducted, how genetic evidence is processed, and how communities respond to tragedy. Police departments across the country now have protocols for using genetic genealogy in cold cases. Families of missing persons have new resources and support systems. Young women have been educated about recognizing and reporting stalking behavior. But perhaps the most important legacy is simpler and more profound. The reminder that every missing person is someone's Jessica. They have jobs they love, family traditions they cherish, friends who wait for them at restaurant tables. They have good news to share and dreams to pursue. They matter, they are missed, and they deserve justice. The technology that solved Jessica's case continues to evolve. New databases are created, new techniques are developed, new connections are made. Somewhere tonight, a detective is getting a phone call about a DNA match in a case that's been cold for years. Somewhere tonight, a family that had given up hope is about to receive the call they've been waiting for. And in that truth, there is hope for every family still waiting, still searching, still believing that answers will come. Sometimes justice takes 10 years. Sometimes it takes longer. But if the story of Jessica Harper teaches us anything, it's that love is patient, truth is persistent, and no one should ever be forgotten. The case is closed, but the story never ends. Because Jessica Harper's legacy isn't her death, it's the lives she continues to touch, the hope she continues to inspire, and the reminder she gives us all that, in the face of unspeakable darkness, ordinary people can create extraordinary light. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more stories of justice, hope, and the incredible power of communities that refuse to give up. Because every person deserves to be remembered, every family deserves answers, and every story deserves to be told.